Hello gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, Captain Matt. If you're new to the channel, it's great to see you, and if you're coming back to see some new content, that's fantastic as well. My name is Matt, I'm a captain out here in the Middle East, and today you join me here in the A380 briefing room. We'll be going in the A380 sim very shortly, but today's topic is looking at engine failures on takeoff, or at least the procedure of the engine failure on takeoff. I'll show you a video very soon of a Boeing 757 taking off from Manchester. It's a classic video, I'm sure you've seen it before. They suffer a bird strike leading to an engine failure shortly after rotating. And that's kind of the scenario we're going to play out in the simulator today. We'll have a look at how we control the airplane, what tools we have to assist us in controlling the airplane, and the basic Airbus procedure. This procedure doesn't change whether you're flying the 320, the 330, the 340, 350, or even the 380. Obviously on the four-engined airplanes like the 340 and the 380, the swing with an engine failure at takeoff is not as big as it is, say, on a 320 or a 330. But nevertheless, the procedure remains common to all aircraft types. So we'll go in the simulator, we'll try and find some birds to fly into. We'll have a look at the failure, and we'll go through it bit by bit and explain exactly what goes on. Before we move into the simulator, let's have a quick look at the Airbus procedure as dictated in the ECAM as to how they would like us to fly the engine failure procedure after V1. Obviously, prior to V1, we would abandon the takeoff, but after V1, we're committed to go, and therefore we follow this procedure. Let's have a look. So here we can see on the screen the Airbus recommended engine failure after V1 procedure. And as we see, it starts on the ground after V1, obviously, because before V1 we would stop the takeoff. So the engine fails, and then the most important thing is to keep the airplane centered on the middle of the runway, and as it says, rotate to a target altitude, or target pitch should I say, of 10 degrees in the case of the 380. And then, once we're airborne, we follow the SRS, or speed reference system. Once the airplane is flying away and we have a positive climb confirmed by the pilot monitoring, we will call for the gear up. Next it says beta target centered with the rudder trim. We'll have a look at the beta target in more detail in a moment. Once we've got the airplane trimmed so it's flying relatively straight, we can then engage the autopilot. All this should happen by 200 or 300 feet. And then by 400 feet, once the airplane is under control and we're going in the direction we want to, we can start the ECAM actions. And again, we'll have a look at that during this video. The acceleration altitude is stipulated by the airline, but for today's exercise, we're going to use 1,000 feet. So we will accelerate the airplane to retract the flaps, and once that's done, and the speed increases to green dot, and again, we will explain green dots in a moment, we will open climb and climb the aircraft further away from the ground to at least the MSA of the area. The thrust will then be set to MCT, or max continuous thrust. So that's the procedure according to Airbus. Now let's move back to that video I said of the A330 taking off from Manchester and have a look at a real live engine failure.
Mayday, 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 Thompson 253 Hotel, engine failure. We are continuing with northwesterly and then inbound towards Wallasey.
Thompson 263 Hotel, roger. All runways available for landing, surface wind 070 degrees at 5 knots.
So I think that's a great video demonstrating an engine failure after V1. The crew was super under control, no panic in their voice at all. They're asking ATC for headings, altitudes, direction they want to fly, declaring the Mayday nice and early. And in fairness, ATC did their part as well, working with the crew to accommodate everything that they needed. So now we'll go and simulate and we'll try and demonstrate the same thing. Obviously with the Airbus procedures, that being a Boeing, they maybe had one or two different procedures, but we'll go through the procedure we looked at earlier, bit by bit, showing you each of the elements and trying to demonstrate exactly what happens in the flight deck with an engine failure at V1. So, if you're ready, let's get going. So before we start, I should probably introduce my colleague to you. This is Captain Mark Edwards, who also works out here in the Middle East. He'll be joining me today. It's very difficult to do an engine failure on takeoff as a single crew in the 380, so Mark has come along to be my pilot monitoring. So here we are at the end of the runway, 27 left in Heathrow. We are ready for departure. The aircraft is now set up, and we're also ready for our engine failure should it occur. What we'll do is we will run the procedures that Airbus dictated and we had a look at earlier. So we'll go through it stage by stage, highlighting some of the aspects that we do during this procedure. So if you're ready, let's get going. Brakes are set, so I'll take the brakes off and we'll set 25% thrust. Before we take off, let's just recap the Airbus procedure that we looked at earlier. First things first, we just need to keep the aircraft straight. And let the engine stabilize. Here they come. Okay, looks good. So go to flex. So it's man flex 55 SRS runway. Auto thrust is blue.
Thrust is set.
Checked. So all we've got to do right now, just keep the aircraft in the center of the runway. Allow the speed to build up. Our V1 is 142 knots. That's our decision speed. So once we're through 142 knots,
100 knots.
Checked. We have to continue the takeoff. So you can see it coming on the PFD now, indicated by the big 1.
V1. Rotate.
So engine 1 has failed. I need to keep the aircraft straight by applying right rudder and pitching up to 10 degrees. After this, the SRS will kick in and we will follow the SRS.
Engine 1 fail.
Okay, so if I had an engine failure, keep the aircraft straight and we rotate towards 10 degrees of pitch.
It's a positive climb.
Gear up. So 10 degrees, here comes the SRS, now engaged. The next thing Airbus recommend is the beta target and the rudder. Let's have a quick look at the beta target. Okay, let's have a quick look at the beta target. The beta target is essentially the side slip indicator on a light aircraft. So what it tells us is whether the airplane is flying square or not. So in this case, the beta target is perfectly squared. We can see the beta target there at the top of the PFD, the yellow triangle split into two parts. Now, if I introduce some left rudder, I'll put full left rudder in. There we go. The beta target splits and the bottom part goes out to the right, indicating that I need some right rudder to square the airplane up. So if I input the right rudder, the airplane comes back to square. And again, the other side, if I put the right rudder in, the side slip goes out to the left, indicating I need left rudder. So I put the left rudder back in and the airplane comes back to square. So that's the beta target. At takeoff, if we have an engine failure, the beta target will change color to blue to indicate that we've had that engine failure and there is a discrepancy between the thrust levers. So now I just need to apply a little bit of rudder trim.
Master caution. Engine 1 fail.
Check. Okay, the rudder trim is engaged. The airplane is flying straight. So I engage Autopilot 1. We're through 400 feet, so ECAM actions, Mark.
ECAM actions. Engine 1 fail. Auto relight in progress.
Check.
Looking at the timings, that's 1 minute and 15 from liftoff. So, thrust lever number 1 to idle.
Confirm number 1.
Confirm.
So the pilot flying always takes care of the thrust levers, so I retard that.
If no engine relight after 30 seconds, I think we've had 30 seconds,
Yep.
do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Confirm. No engine relight?
I confirm.
If engine 1 damage, sorry, engine 1 master off. Confirm engine 1 master.
I confirm.
Off. Master caution. If engine 1 damage, do you have any indications of damage?
I don't see any damage. I didn't hear any bangs. The big fan is spinning, the inner fans are spinning, so I think there is no damage.
Engine 1, no damage. Confirm engine 1, no damage.
So the engine is secure?
Engine is secure.
Okay, so stop ECAM. So I press out and we accelerate. So we need to accelerate through S speed on the PFD here. And once S speed, once the aircraft goes to flap 0, we'll see the green dot speed appear after that. Okay, so through S. So flap 0.
Speed is checked.
As you can
Flap
see,
0.
green dot has appeared. So we select open climb and I bring the thrust back 1 notch and then go back forwards again to select MCT. As we can see, the procedure tells us to fly green dot. Let's have a quick look at green dot, what it means. So as we fly along here at 5,000 feet, you'll see the speed on the left hand side is selected at 205 knots. The selected speed is indicated by the blue triangle. If it was managed by the FMS, it would be magenta. But just below the blue triangle is the green dot, or the green circle. Now, the green dot speed is displayed when the flap handle is in the 0 position. It represents the best lift to drag speed. It also represents the best angle of climb speed, the maximum endurance, and also the single engine drift down speed. So it's vitally important for us to know where our green dot is at any time, because it's the speed we're going to fly to on an engine failure, and it's the speed below which we would like to put flap out, because it's very difficult to accelerate once you get too far below the green dot speed. And the aircraft will now fly at MCT, climbing towards 5,000 feet. So thrust, open climb, and continue ECAM.
Roger. Checked. So engine 1 relight consider.
Checked.
Engine 1 fail. Clear engine 1 fail.
Clear engine 1.
Engine 1 shut down. TCAS mode to TA. If no
Speed
fuel
out
leak,
cruise star.
confirm no fuel leak. Bring you up the fuel page for you.
All looks good, Mark. So I would say there's no fuel leak.
Okay, no fuel leak confirmed. All cross feeds to on. Fuel. Cross feeds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cross feeds to on. If max thrust required,
Well, we're only at 390 tons, so I don't think max thrust is required, so no.
okay. So engine 1 shutdown, complete. Clear checklist, engine 1 shutdown.
Clear engine 1.
Autoflight approach capability downgrade. Clear.
Clear
Autoflight.
auto flight.
ELEC. Quick scan through the electrics page. We see that AC2 is now running through TR1. AC3 and AC4 are still powering the aircraft. Clear ELEC.
Clear elec.
Bleed. So we've got the number 2 bleed is feeding the number 1 side, and we've got 3 and 4 is now feeding the rest of the gantry. Clear bleed.
Clear bleed.
Okay, stopping at status.
Okay, stop ECAM. Let's do the after takeoff climb checklist, please.
After takeoff and climb checklist. So, after takeoff and climb checklist below the lines, barrier reference,
QNH 1013 set.
1013 is set. As the after takeoff and climb checklist complete,
Checked. So, we've got no computer resets for the engine failure. We could consider an engine relight, but we won't in this particular instance. So continue ECAM, please.
okay, continue with ECAM. Status, Cat 3 single only.
Checked.
In operative systems, all phases, Gen 1, green engine 1 pump A and B, engine 1 bleed, forward cargo temperature regulator. Approach and landing is Cat 3 dual.
Okay.
With the status,
I'm happy.
remove status,
Remove status.
ECAM actions are complete.
Okay, so that takes us from the takeoff stage all the way through to the completion of the ECAM. The aircraft is now in a secured position where engine 1 is secured, the other 3 engines are at max continuous thrust, and we're happy flying away with no great problems to us as a crew. Obviously, we wouldn't continue the flight in this mode. We'd have to go back and land. But we've secured the engine, we've secured the aircraft, and we're flying quite safely. Folks, that concludes our brief look at the engine failure procedures on the Airbus, and in particular here on the A380. I hope you liked the video. If you did, maybe leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel. That would be fantastic. The more subscribers we get, the better traction we have. This video was suggested by one of our subscribers, and so it goes to show if you leave a message and tell us what you want to see, there's every chance we might make that video for you. So in the meantime, it's been good to see you again. Hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye now.